Test, test, test. Are you able to see? We got a number of people joining us online because they weren't able to be here. They live in other states, and so we want to make sure that they can join us. So we'll get started here shortly. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Is everybody ready for a great adventure? Yes, it's, you know what? It's just a little over a month away. What is it, like 5 weeks from today, I think? 5 weeks from today before we leave. And at this time, 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, we'll probably be pulling out of Melbourne, heading up to Vieira to pick up that group of people. So it will be an exciting time for all of us. So today is really about us learning more information. We have Trey Brennan is from Fort Lauderdale, from the Christian Expedition. He's going to be speaking here in a little bit. Then I'll come up afterwards and share some things that I have from my experience and specific things. And then we'll do a Q&A. And we do have people joining us online from different places, people that are going to be joining us. And so we want to welcome all of you who are online as well. And so let's first start, though, with a word of prayer. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity that we have to go and retrace the steps of the Apostle Paul, that we can learn from your word on site and just allow the scriptures to come more alive. We can also see the great pains that Paul went through to take the gospel to unreached people groups at that time, and the amount of travel he had to go through just to bring the gospel. Lord, we know you're going to open our eyes. It's going to be a spiritual adventure. We're going to see some beautiful sights as well as just some ancient ruins. And also, Lord, we look forward to what you're going to do in building relationships with people here. We thank you for everyone who's going on this trip. We pray that you give us all traveling mercies, you give us safety, you keep us in good health, and that we would come back with just wonderful memories and stories to tell. We pray over our meeting today. Help everything go extremely well with all the details. Help people's questions be answered. We thank you for Trey and his son being here today, and pray your blessings upon them. In Jesus' name, amen. At this time, I'm going to invite Trey to come up, and he's going to get the meeting started.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here. I was just here about a year ago, and I'm back, and always a pleasure to be here at Calvary, Melbourne. For those of you who are taking time out of your Sunday and giving up watching the Dolphins play, you're not missing much, spoiler alert, so you don't have to worry about missing anything good that you would want to see. So my name is Trey. I'm representing Christian Expedition. And my goal and our passion at Christian Expedition is to help people grow in their understanding of the scriptures and in their relationships with each other through traveling. So with that in mind, I'm so excited for all of you and what you're about to experience in Greece, Turkey, and Italy. I was just in Greece and not Italy. Italy has been a longer, but I was just in many of these places in Greece a few months ago, and every time I go to Greece, the richness and the density of biblical sites there blows me away. I always learn something new. I always have a new insight into the scriptures by standing in these places where the scriptures took place. I want to go over some information with you all. Firstly, if you could, hopefully you got a box, if you could locate this letter inside of your box. This is going to roughly kind of be the structure of what I'm going to be talking through. Before I get into that, also, you should have one of these in your box. And on this is a QR code. There's actually two QR codes. One is for if you have an Apple, one is if you have an Android. And what you can do, what we ask you to do, is to, whether it's now or at some other time, if you scan this QR code, it will bring up an app that you can download on your phone. And then there's some information also on this letter that will tell you how to log in. And on the app, you'll be able to have, both now and while you're traveling, easy access to information regarding your flights, the hotels you're going to be staying in, and what's going to be happening each day that you're traveling. If you have any difficulty, I just did it myself a little bit earlier today, and it should all be working. If you have any difficulty with that, the technical aspects of things, some people I know are technically challenged. I oftentimes am too, and it's understandable, and we're here to help you with that. So if you have any issue with the app, please give us a call on the phone, or I can help you afterward, or whatever the case may be. We'll help you get access to the app. So safety and security is the first thing on the letter. The world seems kind of crazy right now in a lot of places, and we hear now from people more than ever, we have these type of questions about, even though nothing is going on here, is it safe to go to these places? and it's very safe. All three of these countries. I hope that nobody was even worried about that, but if you are or were, I hope that you have your mind put at ease when you leave today, because these places are very safe. These places are probably safer than Miami, where I live, at least certain parts of it. The U.S. Department of State has a travel advisory that they give on every country worldwide to give people a sense of how safe or not safe it is. It starts with level 1, which is the lowest travel advisory. It means exercise normal precautions, and it goes up to level 4, which would be somewhere like North Korea or somewhere like that, where the advisory is do not travel. Greece is a level 1. It's as safe as it could possibly be. Turkey and Italy are level 2, which are still very safe. As you see, many people say, oh, Turkey is a level 2, yeah, but Italy is also a level 2. Many countries that you wouldn't be worried to go to are also level 2s. All level 2 means is exercise increased caution. These countries have been level 2 for years and years and years. It has nothing to do with anything specific that's going on now. Turkey in particular, a lot of people ask questions about the safety of Turkey in particular. Turkey as a whole, once again, is a level 2. And also in Turkey, the region of the country that you're in is very important. You're going to be in the very western side of Turkey, which is highly built up, heavily touristed, and very westernized and very safe. And you're only going to be there for about probably 5 or 6 hours. It's a short excursion off of the cruise. So again, please don't have any concern about safety and security. Your safety and our travelers' safety is always our highest priority. We've never sent anybody anywhere unsafe, and these places in particular, we have an extremely high degree of confidence that all these places are very safe for travel. Emergency travel assistance, you'll find in the letter a phone number, which is our regular phone number, but with a certain extension. It's extension number 9. While you're traveling, you can use that phone number and that extension for any emergencies that might occur, and we're using emergency kind of loosely. If something happens with your flight, for example, and you need to notify us, we'll be tracking your flight anyway, but somebody from the group can call us on this number, or anything that you need outside of our regular business hours while you're traveling, you have access to this phone number, which somebody will answer. Travel insurance, we always recommend travel insurance because you never know what's going to happen. If you don't have travel insurance, you can still get it. It's not too late. You actually can get it up until the day before you depart. But if you're going to get it, it makes sense to get it sooner rather than later, so you're covered for a longer period of time. So if you don't have it, if you would like to consider it, you want more information, or if you're ready to purchase travel insurance, we can help you do that tomorrow. If you give us a call or send us an email, we'll be sure to help you get travel insurance. Itinerary, as mentioned already, the itinerary is accessible on the app. Sometimes there's things that happen that require us to modify the itinerary slightly. Sometimes, especially in a part of the world like Turkey, sometimes a place will just be closed that you don't expect it, and you have to change things up a little bit. Sometimes group leaders, for one reason or another, might judge that it's in the best interest of the group to slightly modify the itinerary. But we don't anticipate any of that happening. We anticipate the itinerary happening as you'll see it written on the app. Luggage. This is an important question. Of course, we've all had the experience of probably having overweight luggage and getting slapped with a fee, so this is important information. Please disregard the middle bullet point because we're unfortunately asking that we not bring carry-on bags for the sake of space underneath the bus. It'll make things easier. But the checked luggage that you can bring one piece of checked luggage, which should not exceed 50 pounds. And it gives you the sum of the items' width, height, and depth. Must not exceed 61.4 inches. That's slightly smaller than is typical. Usually it's 62 inches. The reason it's 61.4 is because you have a flight internal to your itinerary, an intra-European flight, where you're flying from Athens to Rome. And on those type of flights, the baggage allowance is slightly smaller, but not by much. You can also bring a personal item, and you see the dimensions here. Essentially, personal items are generally something like a backpack or a laptop bag. All the luggage is covered. This luggage that's mentioned here is covered. If anything weird happens, which again, we don't expect it to whatsoever, but if anything weird happens and they say, no, that's actually not covered, which again, don't think it'll happen. If it does, send us the receipt and we will we'll reimburse you right away. So we have so many of these trips going all the time. Anything you can imagine happening, we've experienced happening, and once or twice that's happened, and so we put it in there. Airline tickets, so it's very common. Another thing we experience a lot is we have somebody calling us the day before the trip in a state of panic. And they say, well, where's my airline ticket? I can't find it, because they're looking through this box for the airline ticket. There is no airline ticket that you receive in advance. So you don't need anything. You don't need a paper ticket. You don't need anything on your phone, nothing like that. All you need to do is show up at the airport and present the airline staff with your passport, and they will print your boarding pass. You're in their system already. That makes it easier. You don't have to worry about forgetting something. If you're there with your passport, you will be in their system, and they will print your boarding pass. And that applies equally to the flight from Athens to Rome that occurs internal to your itinerary. Air itinerary complications, mentioned this already. Of course, air travel, sometimes things happen, delays and things like that. Hopefully nothing like that happens. If it does, we would appreciate it if somebody in the group, you'd probably be best to have just one person can speak for the group and call us and inform us, because we need to be sure that the bus is there to pick you up at the correct time and things like that. Arrival at the airport in Thessaloniki. How many people, by the way, I didn't ask this, how many of you guys have been to Greece or Turkey or Italy before? Is it mostly Italy? If it's, yeah, mostly Italy, okay. So that's, again, that makes me even more excited. So it's gonna be a new experience. A lot of it's gonna be a new experience for a lot of you. That's great. So Thessaloniki is the second biggest city in Greece after Athens. It's a pretty big city, but it's not big enough to have a very big airport. It's a small airport. When you arrive in Thessaloniki, you'll pick up your bag and you will walk out of the secure area. There's sliding doors like you're going in or out of a grocery store. You walk out of those and you'll see somebody holding a sign with probably your group name. It'll say your group name and or Christian Expedition, the name of our company. And it'll be hard to miss. There probably won't be many people there, and it's not a huge airport arrivals hall like you see in some major international airports. The trip, we'd like to remind you, this is no ordinary trip. I've touched on that before a little bit, but the stories that we hear about the work that God does on these trips is what makes me get up in the morning and come to work. This is a place to, this is a time to expect God to do something in your life. It's a time to expect God to show you something, to teach you something. And I look forward, I hope I hear some stories of how he did that when you guys come back. So I hope you'll all be in anticipation of that happening. Name badges. So inside your box, there are name badges. Oh, I'm sorry. There are not name badges. You're going to get your name badges the day that you leave. They're going to be held by the church, so that's another, so you won't lose them. So you'll get them the day that you leave. You'll get a name badge that'll kind of look like this, but there's no insert in here. It'll have an insert that has your name in it. If you know that the name that you registered with is not the name that you want your name badge to read, or if you're not sure, you can feel free to contact us. We can. Yeah. Okay, you can contact Sharon and. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Can you repeat that so people, it's on the mic?
Oh, sure. So if the name on your name badge, the name we used is the name that you registered with, unless some people did put on a badge name. If not, whatever name you registered with is how your badge currently reads. And if you would like for it to read in a different way, please contact Sharon and we'll be able to take care of that. Passports. It is very important that you have your passport when you travel, when you leave on the morning of departure. Your passport in general should be valid for 6 months beyond the date that you're scheduled to return to the US. We have passport information, I believe, for everyone, and we should have and did most likely catch that if that's not the case. But it doesn't hurt to have a second set of eyes. Check your passport, check number one, that you have your passport and you know where it is. And secondly, that it has enough validity, which again, we would have probably seen it if it doesn't. So you're probably all set on that. We recommend, yes.
When we went to the Coliseum last year, they needed photo IDs. And some people left their passport in their hotel. They would take a driver's license, so that was one of the things we found going to the Coliseum. They did want to see everybody with a picture ID in Rome. So.
Thank you. Yep. Yep. And the guide, sounds like they didn't, but the guide really, if there's ever a time when you're going to need your passport during the day, ideally you would be told that in advance. I would recommend on the days that you don't need it to leave it in the hotel in a lockbox, because we've had people lose them, and we've had them get stolen, actually. We've had somebody in Florence had it in their bag, and the bag was unzipped, and somebody reached in and grabbed a bunch of stuff, including the passport. Again, all things that are very unlikely to happen, but just what if type things. So I'd recommend leaving it in the lockbox, but then you can't forget it when you leave the hotel. So whichever way you go, it's important to be careful about your passport. To a similar end, we recommend that you take a picture of your passport and store it in your phone, or you may also print a actual paper photocopy of your passport, just because if something does happen, then it'll make life easier for you. Meals. Many meals are part of your expedition. Essentially, breakfast and dinner are covered every day, and lunch is also covered when you're on the cruise. Some people have conveyed to us dietary restrictions, things you can or can't have. If you haven't let us know about those restrictions and you have some, please let us know. That's not too late for that either. Please let us know if you're lactose intolerant, you can't eat gluten, or whatever the case may be. Please let us know so that we can ask the places who will be preparing your meals to have something ready for you. Electricity. You only need, thankfully, just one type of plug for all 3 countries. Greece, Turkey, and Italy is just one type of plug. If you don't have it yet and you're looking to get the adapter or converter, what I would probably do is look up Euro plug. It'll usually say European plug, or you can search. Oh yeah, here we are. Yes. So here we go. This is what it looks like right here. It has the 2 cylinder, 2 things, 2 prongs, circular prongs. So this is a European plug or Euro plug, it's sometimes called. This is actually a converter as opposed to just an adapter. There's 2 different types of plugs that you might find. One is an adapter and one is a converter. An adapter is for devices that are capable of running on 2 different voltages, because they have a different voltage coming out of the wall in Europe and in Turkey. Most electronics you have will be capable of using both types of voltage, and so you need only an adapter, not a converter. that applies to almost all laptops and cell phones and tablets, which are most of the electronics that we tend to use. There are some other things that may not be capable of running on the other voltage. Oftentimes, that's things like hair dryers. I had a shaver one time in Israel that I thought would be fine, and it started to make smoke in the room, and I almost started a fire. So those type of like toiletry type items, hair dryer, shaver, those type of things, oftentimes do not work on both voltages. If that is the case, in some cases, you might just rather do without it. It might not be worth the difficulty or the expense of getting a converter. But if there's something you really want to use that only runs on one voltage, you do need to get a converter, which are more expensive than adapters. They're probably $30 or something like that, so it's not too exorbitant, but you should be able to find just the adapter for just a few dollars. Oftentimes, you can get a pack of 3 of them for $7 or $8 or $10 or something like that. So check so if you have something and you're wondering, usually if you check the label, that's really the best. If there's packaging the device came with, or if it has a label, it should tell you if it can run on both voltages or just one. Yes?
Do the hotels have a hair dryer already in them?
Yeah, as a general rule, the hotels in these countries do have hair dryers, but I need to check through all of them, so we can let you know if you'd like. But as a general rule, they do in these countries. Yes. It is not common for them to have an iron for your clothing, a clothing iron. Unfortunately, anywhere in Europe or in Turkey well, you're not spending the night in Turkey, but on the cruise they might have one that you might have to request, and they might have one semi-available on the cruise, but in the rooms I would anticipate there not, unfortunately, being a clothing iron available in the rooms. Even in the hotels, in some cases in these places, they have one at the front desk, so that's something that could be checked. They might be able to bring you one, but it is very unlikely that they'll have them actually in the rooms, unfortunately. Tips or gratuities. Standard gratuities are included in the price of your trip, so you don't have to worry about tipping. Everybody is going to be tipped as one, as a group, and you've already paid for the tips. If for whatever reason you feel somebody went above and beyond and you want to give them something else, of course you can, but don't feel any obligation to tip because you already have tipped when you paid for the trip. Greek tourism sustainability fee. So over the summer, Greece announced a new tax, which governments tend to do, announce new taxes. So unfortunately, it is a tax that applies to any passengers who disembark from a cruise ship at a Greek port. And the costs are these: 12 euros in Mykonos and Santorini, and 3 euros at all other Greek ports during the time of year that we're going. This should not apply to Kusadasi. Kusadasi is a Turkish port, not a Greek port. Unfortunately, there's no way to pay this in advance. They literally just announced it a little over a month ago, so that everybody who does travel over there is kind of trying to figure out how to address the situation, but they don't allow you to pay it in advance. What they do is they put it on your onboard account, your shipboard account, that you have to cover when it's time to check out from your cruise. So please be aware of that. It's not a huge amount of money, but it's kind of annoying, and I apologize for that. I wish that wasn't the case, that they had done that. Walking, everybody, you all look like a healthy bunch, so I think everybody will be good with the walking. There is a lot of walking, especially in Rome. I would say in particular in Rome, there's a good amount of walking. If you ever feel like you can't do it, if you get to a point where you've been traveling for a while and you feel like you just can't walk to another place, you can always stay on the bus if it's a day that you're on the bus. Obviously, you don't want to miss anything, and we don't want you to miss anything either, but if you get to a point at some point on the trip where you don't feel physically capable of participating in a certain activity, please inform your guide or tour manager, and they will accommodate you in some way. They'll figure out the best way to help you. Luxury motor coach or motor coaches, you'll be on different motor coaches throughout much of your trip. Please do pay close attention when the guide tells you each day, tomorrow, they'll say tomorrow, be at the bus by such and such a time. Please do pay close attention to that and try to heed that. It's always unfortunate when there's 48 people and it's like, where's Bob and Jane, and they haven't woken up yet. It does happen sometimes, and everybody is gracious, so everybody on this trip, I'm sure, will be gracious to you, but would prefer that we leave on time. So please be aware of the departure times, both from the hotel in the morning and when you're at a certain site. They might say you're going to have free time now, but please be sure to be back at the bus by such and such a time. Please do try your best to honor that. Weather, as you'll see, the weather is not bad. It's a little chilly by Florida standards. I'm a Floridian like you. This looks chilly to me, but most of the country would call this nice weather. Little bit rainy in Rome during the month of October. So I would say it's probably not unlikely that you will experience rain on one or more days of the trip. Most likely you're gone for, I think it's 12 days. Most likely you will experience some rain. So be prepared for that. That's kind of going to the next category, the next section, clothing. Be prepared for the possibility of rain. And that means probably minimally bring a raincoat, or you could bring a poncho or something like that. An umbrella might not be a bad idea. Rain boots, especially if it's a day that you're walking and it's raining. Maybe it's a Rome day, for example, and you're doing a lot of trudging through the streets and it's raining. Getting your feet wet is a good way to have a bad rest of your day if you get your feet wet first thing in the morning. So something that can keep your feet dry and keep your person dry in the case of rain would be good. And we don't anticipate you having to use it very much, but there might be a day or two or so. That's what I would estimate. There are some places where it's going to be required that you cover your shoulders and your knees. The main place that comes to mind is the Meteor monasteries. We've had situations where a man, for example, wore shorts to the Meteor monasteries, and the monk or the nun who was manning the door gave them a skirt that they had to put on to come down and cover their knees. And everybody had a good laugh about it. But if you would like to avoid that scenario, make sure that you're, again, attentive to the guide. The guide should be telling you that, and I trust will tell you tomorrow we're going to these monasteries, and for that reason it's important that your knees and shoulders be covered. Yes.
Is there a specific number of days that's going to be that we're going to hit those types of places, like definitely 3 days or 5 days or 10?
To get the exact, it will be less frequent that those days will happen than not happen. I have to look through it to know to say with definitively, but I would say it's probably 3 or 4 days, something like that, where that will be the case.
Thank you.
No problem. At most, that's probably being conservative. So, on the cruise, they require officially in the dining room that legs be covered at least at dinner time when you're dining, meaning that they don't want shorts to be worn in the dining room. They oftentimes don't enforce that because we have people go and tell us, you said we couldn't wear shorts, but there's people wearing shorts. You probably will see people wearing shorts, but they're not supposed to be, and the cruise might not be enforcing it. But that's their official rule is they want legs to be covered in the dining room on board the ship. And of course, walking shoes are a big thing. You're going to depend a lot upon your shoes, put a lot of wear onto your shoes. So having something that is comfortable to walk in for your feet is very important. Money. We recommend that you, just as a reminder, you guys probably all know this, but it's a good idea to tell your bank and your credit card company, if you have one, that you're going to be traveling overseas. Because if you don't and they see money being spent halfway around the world, they might think that it's fraud, and they might block your account so you can't use it anymore until you call them, and you'll make it right. But it's better to avoid the situation at the outset. So if you let them know you're traveling, that won't happen. The currency of Greece and Italy is the euro. The currency of Turkey is the Turkish lira. But in Turkey, they also take euros, and they also take dollars. In Turkey, they take almost anything. You will be, as a side note, I don't know if you were aware of this or have known this. During your time in Turkey, you're going to be going to Ephesus, which is an extremely impressive site. Where the Apostle Paul was, where the Apostle John was, and even apart from that, one of the most impressive ruins in the ancient world. On the way back, most likely on the way back, on the bus, you will also be visiting, this is not in the itinerary, but a Turkish rug shop where you'll see how rugs are made. They require that you visit the Turkish rug shop. It is an interesting experience. It's a cultural experience. But these excursions are run by the cruise line. They're excursions off of the cruise line, and they just build them in. The rugs are very expensive, and after they show you the rugs, they'll give you the opportunity to buy them. You might want to buy one, but if you don't feel any obligation to buy a rug, and you're going to be surprised when you see how much they're trying to charge. And I'm not crazy about the fact that they bring people there, but it's the cruise line that does it. So, and it is interesting if. In its own way, because they have a long history of rug making in Turkey. You can get money, you can exchange money in advance into euros. Again, you will almost certainly not need lira at all. You can get euros in advance. You can also get them there. Right across, actually, from the street from the hotel where you're staying in the beginning, the Holiday Inn Thessaloniki, there's an ATM, so that's another option for obtaining euros. Beggars and pickpocketers, this section, this is, again, nothing that you probably don't already know. There's, in the major areas, people come and beg for money, just like it happens here. And there are people that try to pickpocket, things like that, just like there is anywhere. So just be vigilant, be aware of that. It's not any worse than it is in other cities, so not to cause any alarm, but just be aware when you're in crowded areas. Sometimes, just like here again, you'll see people who are begging for money, and some of them may act as if they're sick or unable to walk, and sometimes it's not true. Sometimes they're faking it. So you'll handle that situation however, of course, you think is best, but it's nothing you haven't experienced before. Just please be aware of that. Photos, there are some places where you're not supposed to take photos. Please be aware of that. In the meteor monasteries, depending on which ones you go to, is an example. There's some places where they have really, really old and beautiful artwork that can be damaged by photography, so please be aware of that. Bible, just a reminder, pack your Bible because you're gonna need it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trey. It's always so helpful to have Trey here and to explain more detail. I'm going to cover a few things that he didn't cover, things that are maybe specific to our particular trip. And first thing I want to do is, because some of you may not have been at our first meeting, is introduce the two other pastors and wives who are going with us and are going to be sharing the teaching responsibilities. And but before I do that, I better start with the most important person. That's my wife. So this is Barb, if you haven't met Barb. And she's actually going to do the teaching at Lydia's baptism site. So it's a very special site. You know, it's about where Lydia was baptized and the first converts in Europe. And so, and then Pastor Kevin Wynn and his wife Stacy, if you would just, I know all of you from Vieira know him, but and if you don't know him personally, you will on this trip. But great to have them here. And then Pastor Don Martling, his wife, Dr. Anna Martling, here. And so Don is over the groups here at the church in Melbourne. And his wife's actually a pediatrician, so it'd be nice to have a doctor here, although I don't see any kids. So she won't be able to help you. But anyway. just a few really important things. I trust that just about everybody's taking the bus. Is there anybody that's just going to meet us at the airport in Orlando? Might be. People that aren't here? Okay. Well, when we meet, we're going to meet at 2:30 the afternoon of the 12th, that Sunday afternoon, at our Judah house. And we're also going to do a pickup in Vieira. But for those of you that are closer to come in here, our Judah house is on the south side of the canal. It's the house that's closest to the canal and the road that goes across from the sanctuary. And we'll have places for you to park your cars there. We'll keep it lit up at night, and it's a very secure area. And we'll also open up the Judah house for people that want to use the restroom before we get on the bus. So 2:30 we meet. I'm going to have Don checking passports and making sure everybody has their passport. You can forget everything else except one thing, and that's your passport. So I'm going to make sure if you have to have the same clothes for all 12 days, hey, but at least you got your passport. So Don will be checking them off, and then we will pull out of the parking lot no later than 3 p.m. If we get everybody that's going to be here, we'll leave a little bit earlier, but 3 p.m. Then we'll drive to Vieira, to our campus there. Pastor Kevin, you could be checking the passports up there in Vieira. That way you can start to do it before we even get there. And we'll pick up all the people from Vieira. By the way, how many will be getting on the bus here in Melbourne? Raise your hand up. Okay, how many from Vieira? Really pretty evenly split, and so that's good. So we plan on being there at 3:30 and pulling out at 4 p.m. from Vieira. It gives us a half an hour, get luggage, answer questions. We'll have a few things that we will give you at the bus. One will be your name tag. We will also give you a worship book. Everybody will get a worship book because we're going to be doing different times of worship, whether it's on the bus or from one of the sites and so forth. So we have some worship songs that are in a booklet for you. And so that's that. Sharon, has everybody here paid you that needed to pay you either for excursion or for bus? What's that? Everybody's going to Santorini. Good. Yeah. And the thing why you want to do the excursion in Santorini, because where the cruise ship comes in at, they will take us to a tender where we get on a bus, and we have to go about, it seemed like 45 minutes, is that right, to the town where you see like all the blue domes and the little crosses on top, you know, the white buildings, the iconic Santorini sites where everybody takes pictures. You can't get there unless you go there a little ways. It's on another part of the island. And so they'll give us some information on the bus and so forth. They'll drop us off. We'll have a chance to walk around, enjoy that, get photos, some beautiful sights there. There's some old windmill and so forth. And then we'll get back on. And I'm not sure exactly how they'll get us back to the bus. There is a city that's right across from where the cruise ship is, but didn't find that to be near as attractive as, and I can't remember the name of the main city there. But Trey's already talked about the luggage, and this is really important because there's 50 of us. If everybody brought a wheelie carry-on bag, we wouldn't have room for them. Underneath the bus, there's enough room for everybody to have a checked bag, but not like we have two bags. And so that's the reason why. It's not the airline, it's the bus. And so you can then have a small backpack or bag that you have on the bus, but it's going to have to be at your feet or underneath the seat. There is a little bit of room in some of the buses up above, but that's the kind of thing. Now, with your carry-on, your backpack, you probably want to put just minimal type of things in there that you might need in case your bag's delayed. And so just be aware of that. One of the things that Pastor Don and Pastor Kevin are going to be responsible for is they're going to be always with the group. One of them are going to be bringing up the back end. I think, Kevin, you volunteered for the back end. So he's going to be bringing up the rear. So he's going to have a little whip. He's going to be like, come on, keep them going. There's always a few in every group that's going to be wanting to take a little too many photos, and we're waiting for them. And I just want to share with you, it's a great experience, and we want to have a lot of fun. But the group's only going to go as fast as the slowest person. So if you're one that's chronically way behind, you're slow, you can't get to the bus in time in the morning, you will slow it down for everyone. And I'm not saying that to shame you because nobody's done it yet. So I'm telling you more as a warning right now. We want to make sure it's a great experience. And if we get super late, what happens is then we may have to drop one of the sites because we don't have enough time for it. And we'd hate to do that. So when we give you a time, my experience has been, because I've maybe put the fear of God in people, I don't know, is that people are always there early and we're ready to go. And more times than not, we actually leave a slightly earlier than later because everybody's just good travel partners and so forth. So it really helps when you can do that. But when we get on some of these long walks, our guide will maybe have a flag or sign or something, and we can kind of keep track. The hardest place, though, is in Rome. Because you're in narrow streets, you're in a crowded city, there's other groups, and it's so important that we all stay together. One of the days last year in Rome, we walked 7 miles. That's a long time. Now, that's from the beginning of the morning to late in the evening, so it's not like all at once, but there's no way you can take buses in some of these places. And so I just wanted to let you know, be prepared to walk. Have good walking shoes and break them in. You should get them. If you don't have good walking shoes, buy them now and start walking every day so you break them in. The last thing you want to do is be breaking in new shoes on a trip like that. You might be getting blisters and so forth. Now back to your bag again. Make sure you have any prescriptions, written prescriptions, life-dependent medication with you in your carry-on. Don't put that in your checked bag. And another thing the airline's going to ask you about, they don't want anything with a lithium battery in your checked bag. So lithium batteries are in a lot of things these days, and those things can potentially catch fire. And so they do screen the bags, and they'll pull things out. If you tell them, oh, yeah, it don't, and they see it, they're going to pull it out, and you probably won't get it back. So make sure you don't put anything with lithium batteries in your checked bags. Let's see here. I'm trying to skip some of the things that Trey covered very well. I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but somebody talked to us about it 2 years ago before we went to Israel, and it made such a huge difference. You guys know about packing cubes? If you don't, go on Amazon. It really worked well to have packing cubes. We went, I don't know what we spent, $15, $18 for each of us. I got a blue set. She got a pink set. We put them in our bags, and there's different sizes. So all your pants and shirts can go in one, underwear and socks in another, and different types of things where you pack these cubes, and then they go into your suitcase. And you can squish them down a little bit. They're not airtight because they actually have mesh on there, but they have a zipper so you can push down and zip them up. And the nice thing is, because we're going to be packing, unpacking from these different hotels, you pull out the things, you don't mess all your suitcase up with things and so forth. And then pretty soon you can start one that's just your dirty clothes, and you can pack all that. And so then you keep that separate from your clean clothes. And so the packing cubes work really well. I don't think you mentioned the name tags on the that's in the box, but for the luggage tags, did you? Okay. You all see the orange luggage tags? Those really are important. Put them on your luggage, even if you have other tags on there. That way it's really easy and visible at the hotels especially, but airlines just see, okay, we got somebody from our group, and sometimes we have helpers pulling bags off for other people. But when you get into a hotel, sometimes all the luggage is sitting out in a big lobby area, and we can try to group our luggage all together. And so those orange tags really stand out and from other groups and so forth. So highly, highly, highly encourage you to use those orange tags. Frequent flyer. We are going to be flying on Lufthansa, but they use the airline called Discover. So it's a Lufthansa code share, but you'll see on the plane it'll probably say Discover Airlines. I think it might be owned by Lufthansa. But they are a partner with let's see, I wrote it down here, United Airlines. Yeah, United Airlines. So if you have a United Mileage Plus account, Give that number to them when you check in. Now, you can't do this in advance. Because of the way group tickets work, you don't get a code that you can go online, check in advance and so forth, because everybody's all on the same itinerary. So you have to do it at the airport. So you can give them a United, and what I'd do is I'd write it on a piece of paper, your name, your Mileage Plus number, and you can hand it to them when you're checking in. That way they can put it in the system. It should be in there for both flights and coming home as well. When you're in Athens, if you want credit on Delta Airlines, the airline that they have lined up for us from Athens to Rome is called Sky Express, and they're partners with Delta Airlines. So you can do the exact same thing there. Probably the only time I'll explain it to you, but I know some of us like to build our miles up, and so that's one way we can do that. Now, overnight flight wisdom. I used to fly a lot on business flights before I became a pastor. I used to go all over the world, and sometimes I would have to arrive in the morning and be teaching in the afternoon. I mean, I had to get on the time zone really quickly. So one of the systems I use, and again, everybody's going to have their own system. You don't have to do like me. But I try to, quickly as possible, get on the new time. So we're going to be leaving, I think it's around 7:50, is it, out of Orlando? I think that's our flight time. I think I have it somewhere in my notes. Yeah, 7:50 out of Orlando. So that's going to be 7 hours later. So we're right away at 2:30 in the morning, 2:50 in Europe where we're going. So you're going to want to go to sleep fairly early. What I do is I take a sleeping pill so I can try to sleep. I'll probably take it a half an hour or so before I even get on the flight, so I'm good and tired because I want to sleep. If you don't, what's going to happen is that first morning when you get to Europe, now you're going to feel like you need to sleep, and it's going to set everything off. If you don't try to do it, what's going to happen is you're going to be very tired during the day, and at night when we're at a hotel, you can't sleep because your body's still on the old time. So try as much as possible, get on the new time. The other thing I do is I don't try to think about what the old time is. I can consider what the new time is. Once we get into Thessaloniki, it's around 6 o'clock in the evening. Some of you are going to be so tired, as soon as you get to the hotel, you want to go to bed. I would encourage you to stay up as long as possible to try to help you be good and tired, to sleep and get on the right time zone. Because if you go to sleep at 7 o'clock, guess what? You're going to now wake up at 2 in the morning, and you're going to be like, oh, what do I do now? And so just what helps me, and it kind of works the same way, but only in reverse on the way back, is try to get back on the same time as quick as possible. Let's see here. Try to skip some things that we've already covered. Yeah, last year what I did was I contacted my bank, and they got me some euros. And so, they take a conversion fee out of it. But, again, none of us probably need that many of them. If you want to get like $100 in euros for a couple, or, 150 or whatever. Most places will take credit cards where you're going to be shopping, or they'll take U.S. dollars, but then they'll convert it as well. A euro is about, I think, 1 euro is worth about $1.17 or $1.20 U.S., and so a euro is more valuable than a U.S. dollar, okay? If you take a credit card, I mentioned this in the first meeting, I would avoid American Express cards. Some places do not take them. The best is Visa, and the next best is MasterCard. I wouldn't take Discover or any of those type of things. They tend to be more of an American used card, but Visa, it would be the best. Some of you will probably have an international plan on your cell phone. You'll use that. I will do that. I'll have my phone on. I can continue to keep in communication with the church here, with Sharon, and so forth. I have AT&T. It's $12 a day. You'll get Wi-Fi. You can text. You can call. It works out good if you don't mind paying the fee. We just share it between, the two of us. We don't both do our phones. But If not, you'll have Wi-Fi in the hotels. You may or may not have them on the bus. Last year, I was disappointed that none of the buses we were on had Wi-Fi. I guess it depends on how old the bus is. If we get a new bus, it might have Wi-Fi. But if you have Wi-Fi, you can use certain things then to make phone calls, Messenger, FaceTime, other types of things that you might want to. WhatsApp is very popular now for making calls, texting. We went over the electric thing already, and I can tell you from experience, we burned out. Every trip we've gone on, we've burned up one of Barb's devices. Last year, we went across the street, and we went to some appliance store, and we bought, what was it, a hairdryer or a straightener, I think it was.
All I know is that I had some really bad hair days. So
Yeah. So the converters, they're not. This converter is a converter down to 50 watts. It says Deluxe 50-watt travel converter. This is one I use. It worked for like electric razor, but not for a hairdryer. It's best. You probably want to go on Amazon and find one that's a dual converter. They make them. Ladies, straightener, hair dryer. The hotels, while they do have hair dryers, sometimes they're a little slow, and so you may not be to your liking and so forth. But where we're going, they use 230 volts. So it's a lot more electrical currency going into that device. Now, like what Trey said, cell phones, iPads, laptops, they won't be a problem, but you do need the adapter, the two-prong adapter. If you want to know what they look like, you can come up see this one at the end. But with the other devices, they need a converter, and because what happens is a lot more electricity. We use 110. You're putting 230 into it, so you're going to see smoke. Okay. Greece and Turkey are 7 hours ahead of Florida, and Rome is 6 hours ahead. So just to be aware, time-wise. Our experience last year, and it's probably going to be the same this year, there were no bathrooms on the buses. Now, sometimes you'll find bathrooms on the buses here. Didn't find them there. But we made stops for long trips. The long bus rides tend to be in Greece when we're on our way to the Meteor Monastery and also to Athens. But we made a stop, every hour and a half or so to do a bathroom stop and get some refreshments or snacks and so forth. But you'll want to be careful drinking too much in the morning and then not finding that they don't have bathrooms around near as much as we have here. But I think every time we went to a site at the beginning, there was a bathroom there, but not as many stalls as you might want. We didn't talk too much about the cruise ship, but if you had people that went on last year's trip and you heard about the cruise ship, we're not on that ship. I was not real happy with the ship, and it was no fault of Christian Expedition, but it was just an older ship. It was a Turkish line, I believe, and I told Trey, I said, people weren't real excited about that trip and that cruise, and I had told him ahead of time, the cruise ships over there are a means of transportation. They're not like what we're used to here in Florida where they're a floating resort. But he got us on a much better ship. I went online, looked at it, and I talked to somebody who recently went on that. I think somebody from Port St. Lucie just went on it. And they were telling me, oh, it's a beautiful ship. Great food, a lot of entertainment. I was like, no, we didn't have entertainment. There wasn't even any water in the pool or anything. And I think it had a problem with the propulsion in the back because we had a table in the back and you'd watch the water glass and it was like shaking like this. There was something that was not quite right. But whole different experience. We can thank Trey for getting the switch made. And so I do know the only thing was there was a few people that maybe requested the porthole views and they didn't get them because when we made the switch, they didn't have as many room types available. But I think it'll be better to have a better ship. And as a result of that, we also got an extra stop. We're going to Crete, which wasn't in the original thing that you got. And so we're doing Mykonos, Santorini, Patmos, and Crete. 4 different Greek islands, as well as Ephesus in Turkey. So each time we have like about a half a day at each site, but it'll be plenty to get an experience of that. We didn't get to go into Mykonos last year because the wind was not favorable for us to go to the port there, and Mykonos is an incredible place. We went there with Pastor Mark back in 2006, and it's full of these windmills, and the time of day we'll be there should be around sunset, where we can see these windmills with sunset over the Mediterranean Sea. It's just very, very beautiful. You're going to see some incredible sights. Ask permission before taking a local person's phone photo. Before you take their phone too. But ask for permission before you take someone's photo. Sometimes people are sensitive about that. If you think you might get motion sickness, and some people do, especially in a bus. There's a few places where we go on some windy roads. When we go up to the monasteries, it's going up in the mountains, and we're going way up high. I would suggest trying to do the wristbands, the patches behind the ears, or some non-drowsy Dramamine. But I can tell you the non-drowsy Dramamine will still make you a bit groggy. And so Barb's had good experience because she'll get some motion sickness sometimes when we go on a cruise, and she'll wear those wristbands that have like a little button that's like on a pressure point on your wrist, and that seems to bring some stability. I don't know how it works, but people swear by them, and so just be aware that there could be some motion sickness with that. When we are out with the guides, we'll have what's called a whisper. And a whisper is like a little device. We'll have a string around our neck with a little electronic thing with a headset that'll go in our ears, so we can listen to what the guide or one of us pastors are teaching at that site. And so that's how we do it, when we can try to get in as close as possible, but we want everybody to be able to hear. So whoever's speaking will have a microphone, and you'll have a little listening device, and they actually work out pretty good. I'll just give you a little more commentary on the food, probably than what Trey gave, but I found the experience last year with the hotels, the food was really, really good. Good big breakfast buffets, tasted great. Evenings, big buffets and so forth. The cruise ship obviously was a little shaky. I'm not too picky when it comes to food, but I was a little picky in that one. But again, we're on a whole different cruise ship this time. There's a few places where you'll be on your own for a lunch. What some people did was, hey, man, I'm getting a big breakfast. I'm getting a big dinner. I'm just going to go light. I'm going to take a protein bar with me or something light, and they won't even buy a lunch because 2 big meals is more than some of us need anyway. And so, but there'll be times where you can, stop and get some things like that. Weather. Trey mentioned about the weather. We did have a rainy day in Rome, and I saw, according to your information, 7 out of 31 days is going to be wet. We had one of those wet days, and it happened to be the day we went to Coliseum, and we were in a lot of different places. A rain jacket is really important. Find one that's very rain-proof and not just rain-resistant. There's a difference. One will allow water to come through the seams. One will not. I went to Bass Pro Shop and got a little better one so that it would keep the rain off. I didn't bring an umbrella, but I'm going to bring an umbrella this year because it's not like the rains here where 30 minutes later it's done. That was all-day rain. But we had to make the best of it. We were in Rome, so we had to go and see the sights, and we did. It was just, I think it maybe stopped at different times, but bring something for the rain. Please don't be critical of the food, the customs, the culture, the people, or their government. We're coming in there as their guests, and we don't want to be, known as those snobbish Americans who are looking down upon people from other countries. If you need to do laundry, you can do it in your sink, but we do move around a lot, so there may not be opportunities to dry it, except in the cruise ship, where we will be there for 3 nights. But I think Barb has brought little laundry detergent packets or something, haven't you?
Yeah, they have little laundry sheets now. It looks like a dryer sheet. So it's not liquid. It's just it's less messy. And you can just, I mean, you can do it in your sink for like a quarter of a sheet.
Yeah. So if you do need to wash something out, you have that possibility, but just be aware of the drying time because, it may take longer than what you have. For those of you that are going to be roommates with someone, make sure you use roommate etiquette. I would encourage you to bring a flashlight or something where you don't have to turn the lights on while somebody's trying to sleep, and just be mindful if you've got a roommate. Those of us who are married, we've learned that the hard way over years. But for those of you that have a roommate, make sure you use roommate etiquette. Prices, I found this, are negotiable at most souvenir shops. Whatever price you see, they're willing to bargain. And so just be aware of that. Very seldom are they going to be like stuck on their price, and they'll probably start out high, especially in the rug shop. The rug shop's going to start really high, but look at it as a cultural experience. You're going to see their hospitality too. They're going to start with giving you a little apple tea, and they're going to give you some snacks, and they're going to be really cozying up to everybody, wanting to sell rugs. And we had some people on our last trip that bought rugs. One couple in particular I'm friends with, and the guy, this actual salesman that sold them the rug, I don't know if I told you this, Trey, he delivered it to their house. Yeah, he came to their house, and they have it hanging in their living room, and they're just so proud of it, and it's a beautiful piece. But, it was out of my price range for sure. But it's a neat, and you're going to see how they harvest the silk from the silkworms all the way through to the ladies hand making them and the dyes. I mean, it's pretty impressive if you've never seen how they make these rugs. English is spoken most places. The water should be safe to drink everywhere we go. I want to encourage you, make new friends. You all know a person or two that's on this trip, but I encourage you at different meals, sit with different people, get to know people, ask questions, get to know people. One of the things I learned in the corporate world, because I was always going to places, having to meet new people and so forth, and I learned this years ago, and I'm sharing it with you right now. The acrostic HELP, H-E-L-P. Just remember that. Each of those stands for something else. When you meet somebody new, H stands for home. Where are you from? Your background. Most people in Florida are from somewhere else, okay? I'm from Iowa, okay? H stands for home. E stands for employment or your education. Where'd you go to school at? What do you do for a job? All that kind of stuff. So that's E. L stands for loved ones. Tell me about your family. How long have you been married? You got kids, you got grandkids, all this stuff. L is for loved ones. And P is for passion. What are you passionate about? In other words, what do you enjoy doing hobby-wise and that type of thing? And if you look at the H-E-L-P, every time you get into another letter, it's a little bit deeper into getting to know someone. I was telling somebody ahead of time, when you're with somebody for an hour, you can pretty much small talk the whole time. But when you're with a group of people for 12 days, you're going to get past small talk. So get to know people, build relationships. And when you're going through the H-E-L-P, a lot of times what you're doing is you're also finding things that you have in common. Oh, you enjoy that? I enjoy that too, Any woodworkers out there? I'm a woodworker. Oh, okay. Well, we have that in common right away. And then, what do you make? And then, it's like all that kind of stuff. So spend time getting to know people. That's part of the benefits of a trip like this. We are going to have fun. If you got some good jokes, if you know me, I like to tell some dumb dad jokes. I'll probably have some. We're going to have fun on this trip. And so we'll take time on the buses too. We'll have a little devotions. We'll have some time for prayer. We're going to have time for testimonies. We're going to have time for worship. So it's going to be a spiritual experience where we are going to just make some new friends, but we're also definitely draw closer to the Lord through this trip. And I just, every time I do this, For me, it's like I just draw closer to the Lord, and I know you will as well. And so that's what I want to share. Trey, I'm going to invite you to come back up, and we're going to just take a little bit of time now for any questions you might have. Yes, Anna?
One TV commercial. There's a nasal spray. I don't know if anybody has nasal allergies. It's called Accelestine, which is medically proven to decrease COVID infection by 66%.
I just read an article about that 3 days ago in the USA Today, and I went on Amazon, bought some right away, and I'm taking it with me. I think the brand was,
Celestine.
yeah, but that's the chemical name, but there was another brand that,
Commercial name. Celestine.
yeah. I think mine was like Astra Pro or something.
Yeah. ACELASTI.
They did remarkable studies with this nasal spray that it takes out like 2/3 or something of the cases of COVID just for this nasal spray. And it's for hay fever. It's over the counter. So you can go on Amazon and get it and so forth. But I'll look it up here. 'Cause I just bought some. So here's what I got on Amazon. I think it was the only one that I could find that had that active ingredient. It's called Astapro. ASTE Pro. Astapro Allergy. And if you look at the active ingredient, it's the active ingredient that Dr. Anna mentioned. And so I think it was like $40. But we're just going to keep it with us at all the travels that we do in case somebody has it. And I think there's like 200 doses or something of spray inside of it.
You're using it prophylactically, like ahead of, or when you get sick?
Spray, you use it every day.
Just use it every day, regardless. On the trip, you mean?
I was just going to use it if I happened to get some symptoms or Barb or so forth. But you said you can't just use it every day?
It's an
So,
Like a Claritin.
so some allergy medicines make you tired. Will that make you tired?
Not really, it's just got like an inhaled steroid.
Okay. Good to know. Yeah.
Do you recommend getting flu and COVID shots?
That's a very controversial thing that I'm not going to. The question is, do you recommend COVID or flu shot? We're going to let everybody make their own decision on that. I know that there's a lot of debate right now on the whole COVID shot and so forth. I will tell you, I just got a flu shot on Friday. But I've been doing flu shots for like 30 years, and so I do recommend that. But
So there's some studies now that show that if you have had 2 vaccines of COVID and had the COVID vaccine, or three times where you either had COVID or the vaccine, you're protected.
okay. So if you've had the vaccine, you've had boosters, you probably are protected. But yeah. Susan, and then I can't see your name in the back. Heather? Oh, it goes Susan first.
Mine is a food question, of course. The food served in the hotels, are they authentic to the area, or are they like a hotel? Like Hilton food, or is it
Yeah.
or is it authentic Greek food?
All the hotels are. I think there's only one hotel that's a chain hotel, like a international chain hotel. Oh, sorry. Actually, so there's two. Actually, there's the Holiday Inn and there's the Wyndham Residence in Athens. So there's two. But even in those, it is authentic to the area. It's something like what they would eat. I think it's great when they serve like the quintessential meals of that place. They don't always do that, but never. And I hope they will do that, but they don't always. But nevertheless, it would be something. It's not going to be like a hamburger and French fries and something like that. I've never seen it be something Americanized.
Pastor Dave, when you went last year, what did you find it to be?
Yeah, we found it to be kind of a mix of some American food because of these being tourist hotels, but a lot of authentic food to the area. Yeah. They tend to be very healthy diets, so you'll see a lot of salads, things with olives, more Mediterranean type food. And I found it to be really good, and praise the Lord, I didn't gain weight on the trip. I ate a lot of, but you're walking a lot too, though. Yeah. Is it Heather? Yes. Yeah. What's your question?
So it goes back to the factory, the rug factory. Did you say it's silk or is there a lot of wool? 'Cause
I think it's silk, isn't it? Maybe they do wool as well. I'm not sure. Do you remember?
Yeah, what they show is the silk. That's what they're, because you first will see a demonstration of how it's made, before you actually see the finished product. And when they're showing you when they're showing you the demonstration, I believe it's silk too. But yeah, actually I could be wrong too.
I think so, because they have little cocoon things, and they're pulling the threads out from those cocoons.
Yeah, and then once they show you the finished product, I would assume they probably have a variety.
So if it's heavily wool though in there at some particular moment and I'm in there, can I leave
Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't think it's wool though,
Okay. As long as
but we can ask that. We can ask that when we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to go in there. I mean, the bus is going to stop there. The guides want to take you in there. It's very interesting, even if I think only a couple people of our group bought rugs, but there's no pressure. But they do show you a lot of Middle Eastern hospitality. Yes?
Customs immigration, you talked about just walking out the door and there we are, but we've had to go through some kind of...
Yeah. Yeah, every place we're going to go, when we change countries, we're going to be going first through immigration, where you're going to show your passport. And then, like when we land in Thessaloniki, you're going to get your bag. And they usually go through customs after you have your bag. Most countries, customs is a breeze through. If you have to do any paperwork, they're going to want to make sure you're not bringing a certain amount of money or bringing in live plants or animals or that type of thing. And you just check no, and you go on through customs. But that's a good question, because I failed to remember this last time. I don't know if this is the same way on this new cruise line. Last time when we checked into the cruise line, they kept our passport the whole time. And because when you go into Turkey, you don't have to show a passport. You just go in because you're a part of the cruise and so forth. And so you just show your card for the cruise line. And then at the end, we went and got our passports. Nobody had a problem with it, although a few of us felt a little uncomfortable not having our passports with us. But that was a system they use. Again, new cruise line, I don't know if they'll do the exact same thing or not. But also, if you receive anywhere a little slip of paper at like an immigration, like a little slip, a piece of paper with your date, a stamp on it, keep it with your passport for sure until you leave that country, because sometimes you have to show it on your exit. So just another experience. Yeah.
When we went to Israel, they have this tax that you pay, and then you get that reimbursed to you when you leave.
Right.
This is not like that.
I believe there's a way, because you're paying a value-added tax in Europe. I think there's a way where you can get the tax back if you're a U.S. citizen. But I don't know how much money you have to spend. If you're spending a big chunk of money, the VA, what do they call it? The VAT, I think they call it. I think it's like 17%. They don't collect as much from income. They collect it from consumption. And so, but legally, I think there's a way to receive that back if you're not a citizen of those countries. So great question. If you are doing a lot of shopping and you have big receipts, there may be a way you can get that tax returned back to you. Yes?
Is there beach time?
Beach time? I'm trying to think if we were at any beaches.
all the islands.
They weren't really like beaches. They're more like rocky cliffs and that type of thing. Do you remember, Barb? I don't remember any beaches.
On Mykonos, there should be some, but
Okay.
you're there later in the day.
Yeah, Mykonos, there might be a little bit of a beach there. I can't. That was a long time ago when I was there. But yeah, I don't think it's this is not like the Caribbean. Those tend to be more rock and cliffs and that type of thing. In Santorini, the cliff goes up maybe 1,000 feet. I mean, it's like right from the water. So it's all way up high. So yeah, there's pools at the hotels. There's pools on the cruise ship for those that want to swim and so forth. But remember, it's going to be quite a bit cooler than it is here. Yes.
Yeah, this is a passport question. Most nights we're only in a hotel once, so you wouldn't really be able to leave your passport in.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to encourage you to keep your passports with you.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, other than that, would it be okay to leave it, if you didn't need it on the excursions, to leave it in your suitcase
Yeah.
under the bus? Would that be safe?
That would be fine as long as we're not like changing countries. You will need it for when you get on the cruise ship, so you don't want to pack it then. The other thing is, I kept my passport and Barb's in my backpack the whole time. The backpack stayed on the bus. The bus drivers always stay with the bus. They lock it up, and so I always felt everything was very secure on the bus. Has that been your experience as well, Trey?
Oh yeah, you can feel safe. You can feel comfortable to leave things on the bus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bus drivers protect the bus like with their life.
Yeah. So I would rather do that than even keep it in a lockbox, to be honest with you, because I'd be afraid I might forget it in that lockbox. So, yeah. Yeah.
On the cruise ship, do you put a credit card down?
Yes, you do put a credit card down for things that you want to buy, incidentals and that type of thing. Yeah. And I remember buying bottles of water and different things on the cruise ship, and then you get a final bill at the end, just like you do here. And it sounds like that those taxes are going to be added onto that credit card. Is that correct?
I believe typically they by default they will be. You can go up like a lot of places, and if you want it on something else, you should be able to do that at the end on a different card. I mean, but yeah, by default, I believe they'll be charged to that card.
For that European island tax.
Yes, the sustainable. Yeah.
What about gratuities to the stewards or whatever?
On the cruise, gratuities are already included. They've been paid for already. Just the same thing as on land too.
So you said we're going to Crete. Will we be able to go to Calvary Chapel in Crete? Are we going to that side?
I think we arrive Crete in early in the morning, and I think we have until about noon. So it's a very short amount of time in Crete. The cruise line does have an excursion to city. We didn't choose to line it up for all of you because we felt like it was already a lot to ask you if you wanted to go on the one in Santorini. But in Crete, there's some ruins from a Bronze Age palace that's supposed to be really incredible. Have you gone there?
I have, but I know the Minoan.
Yeah.
Nassau. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to talk about it? If people want to try to go there, I know it's an excursion that the cruise line does offer.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I believe it's the same price as the Santorini one. It's exactly or almost exactly. It's it's associated with the Minoan civilization, and it's a set of ruins called Nassau. So you can read more about it. I believe that's where the labyrinth in Greek mythology. There's the labyrinth, and that it was believed to be there, or it was somehow associated with that site or with the Minoan civilization. So that there's it's interesting. I would have to if you're interested in reading more about it, it'd be interesting to read about. That's the limit of my knowledge of the history of it. But yeah, about the same price as Santorini, and you should be able to arrange that while you're on the ship if you choose to do so. That is the same as ships here. When you take a ship on Norwegian or Royal Caribbean, they have a place where you can go and book shore excursions. So you can do that even on the cruise ship if you choose to do so. Yeah. Yes.
Do you have any advice on souvenirs and amounts of things that you can bring back or not bring back?
Yeah, it's a very high amount. You're fine to bring back. Like I don't know the exact number, but we've never had anybody have an issue with it because it's a large amount of money where you would be running.
Not money,
Oh, okay.
souvenirs, like a bottle of olive oil or,
Just stay within your 50 pounds.
Well, I know that.
That's pretty much.
You know what I'm talking about. Like if you wanted to buy a bottle of olive oil and grease and put it in your check bag to bring it back, is there a, is there a customs limit?
Disclose it at customs?
Oh, right. That's what I was. Yeah. It's only up to a certain amount. So like one bottle of olive oil, something that's being brought back for those type of purposes, souvenirs, would almost certainly not meet the threshold that has to be disclosed at customs. Yeah.
Now, one of the things we haven't talked about that I wanted to share with you is you all received one of these books, right? You can thank Sharon in the back there. Say, thank you, Sharon. Sharon did the painstaking work of putting this book together. And Trey, I would imagine that you haven't had any other churches that put together such a detailed book for their participants, have you? Sharon goes above and beyond, and she's got information in all these different places, and she's got just a depth of information, the hotels, the phone numbers, all the people going on our trip are listed here, a lot of the basic information. So you're going to want to keep this. There's a place for taking notes as we, go on site. You can put your notes in here. I know she did this for our Israel trip. She did this for Footsteps of Paul. Next April, we're doing Footsteps of Moses. She's already working on that. We're going to Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Jordan. And it's a really nice added benefit. And so we do appreciate Sharon, all your hard work with that. So. Any last questions? Yes.
Curious, like sometimes when people go on mission trips, they come back and they're sick. Did anyone come back sick? And would you recommend ivermectin, which I hear now is also covering the flu?
Yeah. I don't really remember. It's been almost a year now. I don't remember who might have been sick. People do get traveling sick. I know we had a few people that were, stayed behind a day when we were in Israel with sickness. I don't remember Footsteps of Paul. Yeah, there was a few, yeah. I don't know if it was respiratory or something they ate. Do you remember? Sore knees, yeah. But that's always the risks, especially when you travel by air. There's a lot of things floating around in the air. And so, yeah, just use caution. What people take for it, if you want to, sometimes your provider might give you something in advance to take with you just in case you do get sick, like a antibiotic of some sort. And so, yeah, I think it's really up to the individual in that particular case. Yeah.
And remember, you're sitting for a long time on the flight and on the buses. You need to get up and move around. The circulation
Yeah.
goes down, okay?
I'm glad you mentioned that. And I failed to mention that when I was talking about the overnight flights. Because of the long flights, for some of you might want to wear compression socks. They help against blood clots. I take an aspirin before I take long flights to thin the blood a little bit to prevent clotting. Getting up every few hours, walking around. Now, I'm trying to sleep with a sleeping pill, so I'm probably not going to be getting up too much. But I do take an aspirin to try to keep the blood a little thin. But blood clots can be a problem. We've had people come back from mission trips. We had a guy came back from South Africa mission trip last year, and he got into Atlanta, and he ended up going to the hospital because of a blood clot. But that was like a 17-hour flight. We won't have anything that long. I think our longest is maybe 9 or 10 hours. But, yeah, blood clots are a real possibility. And so they recommend compression socks, like I said, aspirin, moving around. So thanks for bringing that up.
For Trey, if I don't know the exact details of if I am rooming with someone or not, if I'm a late, like I got in one of those slots that was available then. Do I just call you guys?
Yeah, that
Maybe you know more now.
that would be great. And I actually might know or be able to find on my phone real quick. If you want to, maybe we can talk afterward. I might have the answer, but if not, for sure tomorrow. Yeah.
I have a question for Trey. So I know it's the year of Jubilee in Italy when they're just like mobbed. Have you been to Italy this year?
I haven't been to Italy. So the question is about that it's the Jubilee year for the Catholics in Rome this year. I haven't gone personally this year. We've had a ton of groups. We had so many groups that have been in Rome this year, though, for trips similar to the trip that you're doing. And there are more crowds, I think, than normal is safe to say because of the Jubilee. But it's not like for example, some of the things that we book, like the Colosseum visit and the Mamertine prison, that can't be booked until like 2 months, prior to departure. And in other times, we've had difficulty. It's always worked out, but on other trips, we've had difficulty where we had to rearrange the itinerary and stuff, and we're worried you might not be able to get it because we have to wait that long. For this trip in particular, we didn't have that issue. We never had really that worry. We weren't going to be able to get it. So I'm saying that simply to say that there are more people in Rome than usual, but it's not too bad, I guess, is ultimately what I'm saying. It's yeah. Yeah, that is true. It does seem like it's slowed down. Yeah.
Part of the reason we do this trip in October is the weather is better and the crowds are less. But you're going to find Santorini is always busy until their season ends, which is shortly after we leave from there. Their season drops right off because it gets really cold and windy, and the ships have a hard time getting in there.
One more thing. So we went out, just so you guys know, we went out like every night for walks. We walk every night anyway, so we went out for walks and felt safe. And I mean, you feel like that's okay. So I just kind of let people know if, what ends up happening is you eat dinner, change clothes, and then people, say anybody walking tonight, and you can kind of go, but don't go by yourself, I would say.
I think that's wise. The location of the hotels that you guys were staying in are nice, but you're going to some big cities. Any big city, when you're out, if you take a wrong turn late at night, it might not be safe. So, and that applies to Athens or Rome as much as New York City. But in general, they're safe places. But it's erring on the side of caution. If you walk with the group, especially, I would have no concern whatsoever. I would only have very little concern even without a group. But with a group, I would not have any concern to be walking in these cities.
I was going to share this too. I may have shared it at the first meeting, but Trey mentioned about pickpockets and so forth. We did have a lady on our last trip. The Parthenon area is very, very busy in Athens, and her phone was taken. And she doesn't know how it was taken, but all of a sudden her phone went missing on that particular part. And of course, she never got it back and so forth. So you have to really use caution when you get into these crowded places. Last time we went to the Vatican, which was a big disappointment, and we're not going to the Vatican this time. It was so wall-to-wall people. It's even more crowded now, but we were all in so tight, and we just barely could walk like this to get through all these, and they circular around. Everybody just wants to go to the Sistine Chapel, and you can't go there. You have to go through all these different museums and see all this stuff, and all these wall hangings and all these vases and all this stuff, and it was a big disappointment. So we're going to spend more time out in some of the other sites in Rome. And once we got to the Sistine Chapel, it was so crowded with everybody standing there, like you look up a little bit, and now you're having people to push you back through and get out of there. And so if you're wondering about that, and it's even probably going to be worse this year being the year of Jubilee. But we were there same dates last year. October, middle of October, and the Vatican is just a very crazy place that everybody, is going there. But we'll get to some pretty cool sites in Rome, let me tell you. Any last questions? I was hoping to do this in an hour and a half. We're at an hour and 33 minutes right now. I know we'll stay around here a little bit longer if you have questions. And for all of you that were joining us online, we'll discontinue. I think this will be archived for those that weren't able to do it, and they can catch the link and so forth. But thank you all for being here. Make sure you let us know if there's any questions. We found Christian Expedition was so great to work with last year. We had a lady that was on our trip who's from Poland originally. Her brother was in Poland, and he was dying. And while we were in Rome, she's contacting Christian Expedition. They're rearranging her flight so she could fly right from Rome to Warsaw and then get back to Florida later. And so they're really great to work with. And so, we have developed this partnership with them. And so we're thankful for them and the fact that they're just down the road. And so let's close in prayer. And Barb, why don't you come on up and close us in prayer?
Okay, Father, we're just in awe, Lord God, that you're giving us this opportunity, God, and it's just such a blessing to be able to walk where these pillars of our faith walked and see what they persevered through and see what they experienced, Lord, and just get a glimpse of that part of history, Lord. Thank you for Trey and his son making the trip up here today to help us. Thank you to Sharon for all the work she's done I don't know how she does it, but she keeps it all straight. Thanks to Dave for doing that too, Lord God. And we love you. I just pray, God, that as we have these weeks between now and the trip, God, that you would be working in our hearts, God, to prepare us to learn and experience what you have for us, God. We just thank you so much. We pray you keep everybody safe and healthy, and this will be a phenomenal trip for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you all.